Whoa.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing? We don't normally have a wireless mic. We could do like a TED Talk right now. The big TED Talk. Okay. Yes. Whoa, what an episode. Merge Boot, everybody.
I'm very intimidated right now by all these people. I just texted my fiance. I'm very nervous, and she said, "All of these." Don't worry. You've embarrassed yourself already.
All right, take a seat. Take a seat. All right. Thank you guys so much. Let the people at home hear you guys. The biggest crowd we've ever had. Square introduced us
Unbelievable.
on video. And we had a really interesting episode to talk about.
It was
Nosebleed seats.
Yeah, and you were saying you thought there was a lot.
And I was stress eating popcorn the entire time. I had the merge feast of popcorn. Outback Steakhouse should have come in and sponsored it. Boy, did we hear a lot about steak tonight?
Oh, ribeyes. My God, who knew? Yeah.
We're raising the stakes, everybody.
Yeah. But you were saying you thought that the gameplay was not that great, and I actually thought that what this episode showed was how consistently.
You guys feel like that overall everybody played well tonight?
Not everybody.
No. Okay. No, I think that there were a lot of mistakes that went on, and I guess why don't we start off by talking through Jessica, who I will speak with on the exit interview tomorrow. Dr. Jessica. Sadly, she never really had a halfway decent player.
She seemed to really know the game. She claimed to have listened to...
Showed flashes, but ultimately, she was sort of the victim that they wanted to go after Cole. They were the least threatening person who's not...
Group probably talked about Cole or Joe for... Someone is like, what about Jessica? And they're like, okay, that's different. I really think that's something that happened.
I think she did something in particular in this...
Yeah.
No, so the audience that you guys can't hear.
People upset.
Yeah. Jessica is a very pure...
Yeah, that seems debilitating, virginity. You can't even go to a restaurant if you're a virgin.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know about this thunder from down under, but I guess I'll try it. If I have to.
I want to talk about Lauren, because she seemed to be the...
Couple to do. I referred to her on one of our podcasts as... I'm embarrassed to even say it. Screen seaweed, and I feel so guilty about that.
Screen seaweed?
Yeah.
That didn't really catch on.
I couldn't have been more wrong. She's probably my favorite character right now.
Really? There's a lot of Lauren Rimmer support out there. I saw somebody here tonight. Who's the person that has the Lauren Rimmer t-shirt? Can you stand up?
Wow.
Can we see this?
Wow.
What does it say on it? Hashtag in it for Rimmer.
That's pretty good. Yeah. But she gave maybe my favorite quote in the history of Survivor, which is that it's really hard. She's like, all of these things, it's hard to make.
A low bar for the favorite quote.
Yeah. Yeah. Certainly not that Casey Kasem thing. This is much better.
Too soon. But why do you feel like that she ultimately went with the other group? Was it just that it was potentially a 6-6 if Ben wasn't on board and she didn't want to get involved with any of that racket?
I think that's right. I also think that, I hate to say it, but you have been right about some big things this season. I think you were very right about the Hero Hustler Alliance, and you were also very right about the Ben and Lauren.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
That was the thing.
And I do think that became what it was. I think ultimately when Ben, got so livid about the cinnamon sticks, she had to follow his lead.
Whole situation. Do you feel, is Ben handling this well?
Obviously not, right?
No.
Yeah. I think we should talk through Ben's decision, because I don't think it necessarily just has to come down to food, right? I think we saw that as it was portrayed, it was all about him being very concerned about the food supply and Cole's like uncouth stealing of food. But him choosing to go with that hero hustler alliance is not a terrible choice, and especially because the target of the healers is Chrissy, who's one of his best allies.
Yeah, Air is the person in both of the alliances. And for Ben, and especially for Lauren, I feel like that they're at the bottom of both of those alliances. Ben, I think, is better off to switch to the Hero Hustler Alliance, because at least he has Chrissy, he has Ashley and JP. JP, I don't even think he's got a confessional tonight. Purple JP's tonight and things like that. So I think that for Ben, it's a better move to go with that hero hustler group. But for Lauren, she's really in a tough spot because I think she's at the bottom of both alliances, and by a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, the interesting thing about the Hero Hustler Alliance is that there's so many subgroups, or, you know, if there was some convenient term for a subgroup of an alliance, that would be great, but sadly there's none. There's so many
Trust cluster?
Yeah. So many subgroups of that Hero Hustler Alliance that, you know, there's just more room to play for Ben and Lauren in that group than in the Yawa Healer Alliance.
Was there a way, so I'm pissing off all the people in the group, with you guys, right. Was there a way to do that without getting blood on her hands?
What's interesting though is I think that like Lauren's relationship is more with Dr. Mike. It's not necessarily with, you know, this weakens the Healer Alliance, and as a result, like, there's still, you know, the next thing is not going to necessarily be by the same lines.
The best thing for Dr. Mike, I think, like the last healer left, and then the...
Someone was commenting earlier, his glasses all... Yeah. He's like, you know, yeah.
Let's talk about Joe tonight.
Well, I mean, obviously he played an idol that he didn't have. It's possible that he was the target. He brings out the idol, the target switches, and someone taps their nose and the target switches. And I mean, that's actually unlikely. Never mind.
Yeah, I don't think that was the case. I mean, we saw in the episode, should the backup plan be Jessica? And I think that the primary plan was Cole.
Right, and then the primary plan became Jessica probably before Tribal Council.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that the reason that the primary plan wasn't Joe, because there was some confusion, does Joe have an idol? And Joe ended up going out of his way to end that confusion.
Right.
Like, I think it would have been a better move for Joe, even if he just did everything he did and then not play the idol. And then, like, Malcolm had done things like that. I think Russell also did things like that, where take out the idol, everybody thinks he has it, it's something they have to work around moving forward, but now, like he said, now it's back to an even playing field.
I actually thought that when he took out the idol that, like, they might vote for him because of it, because it's so common now.
Well, I almost feel like that for Joe, what we never got was, what was his plan? Where it was like, okay, at least the 5 healers, then they had Ben and Lauren. He seemed annoyed that Ben was even brought in. So I don't know what they thought their numbers were going to be, unless that he underestimated that the heroes and hustlers would be working together.
Yeah, I mean, we absolutely just didn't, you know, see what it was. And there's something to what he said though of our fresh, right? Obviously, like, once he pulled
That's
out.
not a thing.
No, it is. Listen, as someone.
Let me get rid of my idols and advantages. I need to start with a clean slate.
You should get rid of your advantages. Maybe not your idols, but, you know, I think there's something to be said for, like, getting that target off of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For Joe, you haven't seen Joe at Tribal yet.
Yeah.
Joe, I get crazy at Tribal.
and did you think he was adequately? Did he, like, hype himself up too much?
No, I think he lived up to the hype. I think he was sufficiently hype. I was enjoying it, but I just didn't feel like long term that was a great spot for him. I want to touch on Chrissy, who I think actually did not have a great night.
Well, only because she was a target. But I mean, what else did you not like about the way?
I thought that she did a lot to raise her profile in the game, and not in a positive way.
Well, what do you mean?
I think that she ended up making herself a target in some... Like, hey, should we do this here? Shouldn't we be in private before we have this alliance talk? She's like, oh, they can't hear us. Don't worry about that. And then also, I thought she was a bit of a showboat in the challenge when Jeff Probst, I'm sure that you must have been triggered, Steven, when he was making fun of Ryan for being the first one out of the first challenge after the merge.
Oh, I forgot all your dominant challenge performances.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that, like, hey, who knows knows how many times longer people are in the challenge than Ryan. She's like, actually, Jeff, it was 900 times.
Since when is like doing math some sort of survivor trigger? Like, yes, obviously it upset Lauren, but I think for most people,
didn't like it.
the ability to like add or multiply is not necessarily like, you know, make you a huge
It's
threat.
fed into a perception that people had about her.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that she ultimately ended up being the target. She wasn't somebody who that we've thought a lot of people would be going for at the merge.
You think she was
To be a little overconfident at this point in the game. And I actually thought somebody who wasn't very much on the radar, Ryan, I thought he's a weasel, let's get rid of that guy, let's target him. Nobody was talking about him.
Yeah, and he actually, I mean, we didn't actually see very much of Ryan tonight, you know, certainly compared to how much we typically see of him, but it was interesting when he was talking to Devin, he said, you know, I'm really tight with JP. I want it to be me, you, JP, and mentioned that he would happen.
Yeah, Devin was really playing very hard. Find it. If only they would have put the advantage clue in the cinnamon sticks. That's the utility of cinnamon sticks.
That's
To stir coffee,
to flavor.
to flavor your coffee. Wow, you guys are fan. Bring out a guest.
Okay.
Okay? Legend of Survivor, who's here with us in person. The great Cirie Fields. Cirie, this is like when you were on Survivor Price is Right to try to get out of this. Come on down! Much harder to get to the stage than at Caroline's. Very excited. Everybody is excited to see Cirie. Give it up for Cirie. Where do you want to sit? You have to pick. Sit next to Steven or next to me? Okay, pick Steven. Here, take this. There you go. Cirie, we couldn't be more excited that you're here, and I know all these people are too.
Oh my God, I'm nervous.
We're all nervous. Cirie,
Yes and no.
yes and no.
I'm happy that I'm not on it again so quickly after 34 because I'm recuperating. But I love it.
What brings you, like, what are the moments that, like, bring you back the most vividly? Is it, well,
You know what it is? It's Jeff saying, "Come on in, guys."
I'm ready, yeah.
Here, I just want to make sure we're getting you in the microphone.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Come on in, guys, and Survivor is ready. Go! That like gets my heart racing. Like I won't sleep tonight.
In a bad way.
No, in a good, but in cups of coffee. So, you know, I don't know. It's like in my blood, and I feel like everything that they're going through. I feel like Joe deciding should he play it or not. I feel like Jessica, like, oh no, it's me. It's I don't know. It's like surreal. I can't really explain it. I just feel like I'm there in that time as that person.
We saw last season that, you know, the challenges are a lot, you know, in terms of like having to, you know, expend all that energy to be able to do them. Is that why it's, you know, just brings back those memories?
Yeah, see, people don't realize. I didn't realize. I was a fan of the show from day one. I watched Richard Hatch win. But people don't realize how real and depleting it is. People see like Cole and like he's a big, strong guy, but you don't realize he is really, I feel for him. Even though he's eating all the food wrong, but I know that he's starving. And the bigger you are and the more, it seems like the more fit you are, I have to say like people like me that have a lot of reserves. We don't starve as much, but the people that are like really fit and have like really fast metabolism, I've seen them like really, really starving. So I think Cole's probably a good guy, but he's starving, you know? So I kind of feel for them in a different way than people at home can see, you know?
We didn't talk about that moment between Cole and Ben, where Cole actually goes and apologizes to Ben for you in that moment. Like, what did Cole do? Did he do it right and there was just no getting over, you know, Ben's anger, or is there some better way? Like, obviously, you know, you would have never put yourself in that situation, but like, let's say you hear some guy is just furious at you for, something you did accidentally. Like, what's the correct, move in that situation?
I think Cole did the exact thing that he should have done. You always err in the way of apologizing. What else can you do out there? It's not like you can buy him a drink. You have to go and say, look, please forgive me. I'm sorry. I didn't know any better. And I think in that instance, he really didn't know any better and he couldn't help himself. He was really starving. So I think he did the right thing. Whether Ben, appreciated his apology or not, what else could he do besides give him a back massage?
Well, so for Ben, it really was that he felt like that he talked about this last week. Cole is selfish because he could have put weight on, he could have put fat on before he came out here. And even tonight, Cole was like, yeah, because I have such little body fat. And Ben said it again. He's like, well, you could have,
But
gained weight.
he's eating 8,000 calories. Like, how much do you...
I need to get fit. I need to get strong. I need to get ripped. I need to be able to compete in challenges. He's not thinking like, geez, if I don't get fat or put on weight or be like Sari, I'm going to starve. He's thinking like, I need to be as strong as possible. So you really don't understand until you're there.
I wanted to talk to you about the Cole and Jessica thing because they had this relationship and it seems as though that ultimately cost her game. And there's a moment that I always, I don't always think about it, but it reminds me of this. Back when you played in Micronesia, that there's a really great scene where you're on the boat with Amanda and Parvati. And Amanda is with Ozzy and Parvati is with James. And you were giving them a pep talk about, okay, whatever you guys are doing, that's fine, but it has to be the game first before the relationship. Do you feel like that Jessica was keeping her game ahead of that relationship?
I don't think so because Jessica's sweet and naive and, the heart wants what the heart wants. However, any pair in Survivor is a threat. So if I'm making googly eyes at Cole or even Dr. Mike, everybody else around is just, they don't see like, oh, how sweet the relationship. They see two people. And in a game that numbers are important, that makes you a target immediately.
Yeah.
What did you think of the decision to vote out Jessica? Like, was that,
I think it was a wasted vote, especially now in the merge. My thing is at the merge, you want to take out people who are physical threats, people who are going to win immunity challenges, people who you can't beat. And Jessica's eyes are so like googly about Cole. She's not even a threat physically. She's not a threat. You need to be looking at the Coles, maybe the people who are going to win immunity challenges. That's how I like to play the game anyway.
Was last season just an outlier when Haley ended up being the person to get voted out at the merge just because she wasn't part of that big Nuku group?
That and Haley never wanted to talk game with me. Haley had like Troyzan, when Troyzan came over to us, his people were Haley and Jonathan. There's 3 people right there. So numbers is key, so sometimes it doesn't really matter how physically fit you are or if you're a challenge threat, it's all about the numbers. And if somebody's making you their go-to number, then the shift goes to you as opposed to the physical threat.
Let's talk about Joe and what he did tonight with his idol. Were you a fan of how he played any of that?
I thought it was gangster how he said
It was very fun.
and said, I got it, let's go. However, usually when you do that, you shake everybody. And you should know that, okay, I put everybody on notice, don't come for me. So I think it was a waste to play it when Joe played the idol unnecessarily.
Do you think it's unfair, all of the Tony Joe comparisons to either guy? Because I know we do it a ton.
Well, you have to give Tony credit where credit is due. He did a particular Tony move tonight saying, look, this is it, I got it, come for me if you want to, but he failed to follow through and not play the idol.
So
She agrees.
So if you think Jessica is the wrong person for, like, who would have been the right person? Do you think they should have taken that shot at Cole?
Absolutely. Well, for me, it's the physical threat. And even though Cole had his little lapse, his little starvation incident, now he's eating and he's strong. And to me, looking at him, if I was there, I would be going for Tony, JP, the stronger people, because I could probably maybe beat Chrissy. I mean, I don't know. So yeah, I think it was a wasted vote on Jessica because she's not really strategic enough. She's not really physical enough. She's not really that big of a threat. I would even go after Dr. Mike before I went after Jessica. Not really, Dr.
yeah.